You've created close to or over $1 billion in market cap value through these.
Someone told me that if I wanted to create some wealth, I should go into the stock market, and so I did.
And I'm sure you've got some very happy shareholders. This is Adam Giddens, aka the Small Cap Investor. We're here for the second Video Insider interview. Today we have the pleasure of sitting down with Andy Bowering. Thank you for being here, Andy.
Thanks, Adam.
So Andy is the founder of PRYM Mining, the founder of American Lithium, and the co-founder of Millenial Lithium. Andy is a multi-faceted guy. He's been a driller, boots on the ground. He's been a broker in the office, and now he is an operator, manager, executive. So, you've been around so long. Do you have any guys that you really look up to and kind of gravitate towards, who you'd consider role models through your, early days, whether, any guys that you kind of really like to embody their values and really look up to?
He's dead now. It's Pezim. That's why we called PRYM Mining, because Pezim had PRYM Mining first. And
really?
Yeah, and I remember the 80s, late 80s, things were tough around here.
Yeah.
There was a lot of brokers doing nothing, a lot of investors complaining, but Murray went to work every day. He worked hard, and most of the people around Vancouver remember at those times.
That was bear market?
That was a real bad bear market, and everybody going, what's Murray going to do? What's Murray going to do? And he was a guy that worked hard.
Even in the bear market.
In the bear markets. And that's the trick to success, is being able to work hard all the time. Yeah. That's the trick.
Not just when things are good, that's what really sets apart, the winners from the losers. It's easy to show up to work when everything is, happy and green, but it's the guys who show up when it's red and are there to kind of...
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what made PRYM work too. We knew there'd been a lot of pain in the gold trade, and at some point it was going to turn, but we didn't know it was going to turn this quickly. But when we set out to build the company and start the company, we made sure that most of the money in was our own money.
Yeah.
And that our other shareholders were patient shareholders, and that we weren't killing the company with wages and things like that when things were tough, right? And
yeah. So let's dig deeper on PRYM a bit more. So how did you guys get that asset? How did that sort of come to fruition, the PRYM Mining deal? Fairly recent?
2 years ago. Well, we knew got a feeling that the gold trade was going to get stronger. Yeah. You just couldn't, there'd been pain in the trade for 9 years. It couldn't continue. Mm-hmm. And so I went looking for a gold asset, and I'm a shareholder of Minera Alamos, always have been. And for 4 years I've been. And it just dawned on me that they were going to work on Santana and then maybe Fortuna, but they were never going to get to Los Reyes. So I asked them if we could buy it.
And all of these properties were together?
They were all together in Minera Alamos.
Okay. Which you were a shareholder of?
Shareholder of.
And so they just kind of didn't pay enough attention to the asset or sort of overlooked it, and you guys just said, hey, we'll take that?
Well, they tried a roll-up strategy in 2016, and so they had 3 assets in one company from a roll-up and in a bad gold market. Yeah. And so they were only able to raise enough money to focus on one asset.
Okay.
So when I came to them with a solution, they were happy to take it.
Yeah.
And so I bought a good asset, and then it's building a team around, and
yeah. I've noticed you have some pretty heavy hitters on the team there. You've got Daniel Coons at the helm. I've sort of heard on the street that Pierre Lassonde was a shareholder.
That puts me in an awkward spot.
Yeah.
I think what I can say is that
you guys have a fairly strong shareholder base.
We've got a really good shareholder base. We've got a really good group. Yeah. You could look at Orla Mining, figure out who and what's behind Orla Mining, and that might give you an idea as to the group that's helping along in PRYM, and whether we become another Orla. Well, that's a tall order, but let's see.
So with regards to the asset, you guys are hitting some pretty high grades down there. Yeah.
Yeah, for an open pitable, heap leachable well, heap leach maybe, and a CIL operation at the same time. It's one of the higher grade deposits around. It's north of a gram, all oxides.
Have the results that have been in the last year, have those been kind of the best results, or what's sort of the progress there? Like what I'm getting at is that it seems with such a good asset, why was this company willing to let it go?
Well, so when I reached out to Doug Ramshaw in January of 2019, they had 1.8 million Canadian in their bank account.
Yeah. 300
some odd million shares outstanding, trading at 10 cents a share, and mouths to feed on their main asset, Santana. They had $1.5 million US payment due on Los Reyes.
So they needed
in 30 days. They needed help.
Yeah.
They needed help. And so providing I can put the right group together to advance the project to their liking, they're going to take the deal. So we built a team and they took the deal.
Yeah, that's one thing I've always sorry to interrupt. No, that's one thing I've always realized is, you can have an incredible asset, but if you don't have the right team in place, it really doesn't matter, right? Your asset's not going to go anywhere. I'm sure that asset has been around for a while, like a lot of others I know that are sort of just sitting there, whether it's a completed study, but they're not going anywhere. The share price is, just dwindling, and it's because they don't have the right pieces in terms of the people, the group. I think people don't realize how important that is, right? An asset is equally as important as the people behind it.
For sure. Valid point. Management's everything. And so you take a project like Los Reyes, that has 1.2 million gold equivalent ounces oxide sitting at surface. Well, you bring a guy like Dan Koons as CEO of that. Now, Dan's a mining engineer with an MBA. He was Friedland's CEO. He was MK Gold's CEO, built Castle Mountain, built American Girl. Those are two deposits that are very like Los Reyes.
Castle Mountain, that was Newcastle Gold, right?
Castle Mountain is owned by Equinox.
Okay, so formerly Newcastle Gold.
Way back, it was owned by Viceroy and the first Equinox. I'm talking back in the 90s.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how these assets sort of kind of go through the laundry, right? Over time, over different cycles, you can have the same asset that's sort of spun in a different way. And depending on the timing, it'll go into production or not. On that note, how, in junior mining, there's a lot of garbage, I would say. There's a lot of companies that you need to stay away from. Let's be honest. What's something as a retail investor you can do to what are some red flags, things you should look out for when analyzing a mining company?
Management. Yeah. That's number one. If
they've done it before.
Bet on people that have done it before. 100%.
Interesting.
And you can also go and look at some of the previous companies that people have run. So if you find a company that you're interested in, or somebody tells you to have a look at this, go look at what else their management's done in the past. And if you see stock charts that have fallen off cliffs, then you probably got a good idea. Like people gravitate to what they like to do, and leopards don't change their spots.
Yeah.
So the pump and dump guys remain pump and dump guys. They just do.
Yeah, and the guys who are reputable, they tend to stay true to themselves over time.
Yeah, and the guys that want to build something, like there's guys that just are happy continuing to explore. I know lots of reputable guys. They're honest, but they don't really want to ever suffer the hard work of building a mine. They happy to keep exploring it and studying it, and and so. Okay, but you got to get your timing right on that too, right? You need an end game in all these things.